Hello and welcome to We Got Issues, the only comic book podcast that knows how to put the fun into Funtastic Four. I'm stretching for that joke. Yeah.
That's kind of your thing.
It is. I don't want to be invisible here anymore, but Human Torch. Anyway,
they don't hold the torch for it.
Damn it, you got
it.
Hey, well, as you can see, I'm Brian Compton, aka BComp, and joining me as always is the Herbie to my FF, Josh Markowitz.
That one hurts. It's okay. That one hurts a little bit more because, like, now I'm Herbie, which the lore of Herbie is that he was the replacement on the cartoon
for
Johnny Storm because they were optioning Johnny Storm on something else.
Oh, I was told.
Friends.
Oh no, I thought it was because this is what I had heard.
That's the rumor. It was an untrue rumor. I think I know where you're going.
Oh, I was saying that makes more sense than the rumor I heard was they'd replaced Johnny Storm because they didn't want kids setting themselves on fire.
Right.
And that's why they replaced Johnny with Herbie the robot.
Yeah, that was an untrue rumor. Like somebody started that, but it was because he was like optioned for something else going on. I think
they like Spidey and His Amazing Friends or something.
I think so.
Like
I think that was
yeah,
or something like that. Yeah,
that's cool. That's so funny. I didn't know that. I mean, it's a rumor I hadn't heard before. I'll put it that way.
And like Herbie, I can change different cartridges in my face, and that
changes
honest, what time.
I know we're already off track. I thought they did a good job with Herbie in the movie.
Oh, it was great. No, great. Yeah. Herbie was awesome.
Huh. All right.
He was a good sidekick robot.
Well, the fact that his first appearance in the comics is like currently kind of going up does go and show that, people did like him, because he was kind of reviled for like the longest time.
Yeah, he was just because it was a weird. People don't like forced additions, and they know
like Cousin Oliver from Brady Bunch or whatever it was. Yeah. Well, in case you hadn't guessed it, we're talking a little bit of FF today.
Yeah, finally, we're talking about the first family of Marvel and the first family of, I guess, the Marvel. I mean, comic books you can think of if you think about it, superhero comic books, but we're talking about the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And but also before we get into all of that, we got to talk about something. What is it? Who do we need to talk about?
I think it's
something we need to do all the time.
Sponsor. That's what it is.
We need to talk about a sponsor. And so look, if you're looking for the best treats this side of the Savage Land, you owe it to yourself and to your stomach to snag some of Duff and Shaw's world famous snacks. From wild cherry Dogman gummies to Bigfoot's smoky kettle crunch, these snacks and candy are curated from the most mysterious and undiscovered places on planet Earth. Now head over to duffandshaw.com/issues today and check out all they've got and more. And again, that is duffandshaw.com/issues for the most legendary snacks on the planet. And you know what else?
What's that?
It helps out the podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it really does. Please do check them out. Yeah. Thank you. That was a great read, Josh.
Well, I thank you. I've been practicing my sponsor reads, and it helps that we have the same sponsor, which is great
every time. Well, until Marvel returns my phone calls,
until Apple returns my phone calls, and then Pepsi, and then Coca-Cola, and then they're more right now. That's what
that's what we're dealing with right now.
But I mean, like, look, now that we've gotten the sponsor out of the way, let's talk about the story that we're talking about. So we said we're going to be talking about Fantastic Four, but we're discussing a specific Fantastic Four story because Fantastic Four, like we said, has started in the way 1960s, and we thought, what would be a good story that is not only is it a different type of story that we're going to be talking about, or a different book, but it has some ties into the movie, and that is Fantastic Four Life Story.
Yes.
And like we said, it has some ties to the movie. Brian, we talked about it a little bit, but what did you think about the movie? And we talked about with Gene too on the last episode, which if you haven't had a chance, please check out that episode. It was fun. But
Yeah.
what did you think of the movie?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought, the it got a little Marvelized at the end. Obviously it's a Marvel film, but
Right.
Sue Storm just dramatically holding up her hands as she's firing out, shield bubbles or whatever. She tries to stop, a big monster, purple, planet eater. That said, like I really did enjoy it. I loved
The
everything.
one
I
eye,
liked the
one
yeah,
eye, one horn,
yeah.
giant planet purple eater.
Purple people that are
Yeah.
no, overall, though, I really did enjoy it. I like the character interactions. I was surprised how much I liked it, actually. FF is one of those properties that they've tried to get onto the big screen several times, and it's always been kind of like hit or mostly miss.
Mhm.
But I thought they did a good job with this, and I thought they did some smart decisions. And overall, I enjoyed it. I'm glad that they're taking a break after this. It left me wanting more, which is what you want, and we'll see what happens in a year. You know what I mean? What about you?
I actually really liked it. I liked the different aesthetic that they had with the movie and how the director kind of tackled the Fantastic Four and how it was a origin, not origin, where you get all you need to know about the information about how the team is, what happened with them on this whole Ed Sullivan type of show. And they've already been like an established this team.
Mhm,
And it's kind of
mhm,
it's the the Fantastic Four team that, you kinda see that people had, like, aspired to in a sense, like, the Fantastic Four has a lot of through the years has been, um, shown differently. Sometimes it's just Reed is just the only smart guy where everybody's smart, but nobody's, like, his genius level, of course, and then sometimes you have everybody is, somewhat very smart on each level, even Johnny, and that's what the kind of they went with on this one. And I liked that. I thought Sue Storm was great in this, and it was
mhm,
a great representation of Sue Storm.
mhm.
Finally, we didn't have Galactus as a cloud. We had um there's a good Silver Surfer and
Mhm,
in a lot of little Easter eggs here and there too, because the Fantastic Four have such a huge history and backstory in Marvel that you can have these little Easter eggs of like when he was talking about how he's kind of baby proofing the world, how he goes through each of their villains and how he has them set up. So and Mole Man was great. So it's just a lot of great stuff. I thought it was a fun MCU movie that wasn't a
mhm.
typical MCU movie.
Yeah.
The Galactus type of thing was different, but it didn't seem like the same old fight a huge army with the light thing at the end or something because it also feel that felt a lot shorter than usual. So
Mhm.
it's it's like a shell game that they did with them.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a fun movie. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, kind of to your point, with like making all of them intelligent. I mean, you kind of had to do that because,
Hmm.
the sort of thing where like, hey, we're taking my kid brother on this rocket ship trip to with us. It just would, I mean, it worked in the 60s when the comic was written, but in a
Right.
modern setting, it's like, no, that would not happen like in any way, shape, or form. So making them all like astronauts that they all, like Ben's the pilot and they're all scientists and
Yeah.
they're all smart and all that. I thought that was a great choice as well.
Yeah. That's where they mainly differentiated from the that first Fantastic Four movie. With Captain
Chris,
America with Chris Evans,
yeah, Chris
because
Evans.
Chris Evans was more of the yeah, not as smart, as
Yeah.
the other versions. Like Michael B. Jordan was even somewhat smarter than the
Hmm.
previous Johnny Storm because he was like more of like a mechanical engineer, which they had that in like the ultimate Fantastic Four.
Nice.
So
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree.
yeah.
Well, with that all said, that kind of leads us into this book, you know, um, which we're doing Fantastic Four Life Story, which is, one of from what I understand, is one of the inspirations to the film itself. They obviously drew from a lot of history of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's. It's a little bit from Hickman and various things like that. But one of the most concise versions of that was this story by a writer named Mark Russell called Life Story. As always, we like to kind of set things up by reading the blurb on the back Josh, want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll do that because of my incredible sponsor read. So I'll do.
Well, I mean that, and also you are an. It's funny. It's funny. You know, I know you're an FF guy, and I didn't know that
Right.
until recently, ironically enough. But I was going through all my stuff. I was like, I really, you know what, I kind of poo poo FF a little bit. Everyone's joking, but I was like, no, I have a fair amount of FF in my
Yeah.
collection.
I think when you look at the FF's history, you kind of realize how much is
Yeah.
of Marvel stems from them. So
Yes,
that's what I
yes.
really like. And I think they're always the underdogs, which is funny. Because when you think of big Marvel teams, you don't think of the Fantastic Four. You think of Avengers or X-Men
Well, it's
or
because they're not
even
a team.
Thunderbolts.
They're a family. They're a
They're a
family.
family. That's very true. That's very true. Um, so yeah, well, I am going to do the blurb on the back. Excuse me. An incredible exploration of the fabulous foursomes' lives if they've aged in real time across the decades. Amid the backdrop of the space race, an accident gives the Fantastic Four great powers and entangles them in the history of their planet. But as the years pass, the four heroes struggle to find their role in a rapidly changing world. As Sue continues to fight for social causes, Reed becomes increasingly obsessed with preparing for the prophesized arrival of Galactus. And in the end, after 6 decades of triumphs and tragedies, love and loss, can the aging heroes make a final stand against the implacable might of Doctor Doom?
Bravo,
Thank you, thank
bravo.
you. I brought up my
Your A game
drama
or
voice.
your. At least it wasn't your F game, I guess. Oh, yeah, it was, published as a 6-issue miniseries, back in, May of 2001 or started in May of 2001, and it's basically
2021.
an yeah, 2021, excuse me.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm out of sorry.
No.
Yeah, May of 2021, thank you. It was basically an alternate history of the FF, as like you said, as they age through real time. You know, this is something, we talked about a little bit with the Punisher when we did the Punisher Platoon book, but most Marvel characters, they age in what's called a sliding timeline. Um, Basically, even though the book was initially published in 1961, and that's when that issue takes place, obviously 60 plus years has happened since then. And the FF can't be, even if they were at their youngest in 1961, they'd be 80 right now, and that just wouldn't work. So what has happened is, they've slowly, as the years have gone by, have only aged a few years, about a decade and a half or so. But this book takes the idea, like, what if they did start in 1961, and each decade they age, and they dealt with these social issues and the other issues that are kind of occurring and those events that occurred, whether it's 9/11 or the Reagan administration, or social change in the 70s and the 60s. So it's basically tackling that. um
Yeah.
I briefly brought this up, but what is your take, like, on the FF overall? Where do you think they stand in terms of, like, the pantheon of comics and teams and heroes?
Yeah, I again, we've talked about like this is one of my favorite teams, and
Mhm.
they've been shelved for a while because of behind the scenes politics with movies and things like that,
Mhm.
which it was very disheartening, and it was hard to keep being a fan.
Yeah.
But
Well,
they're one of my favorite, constant favorite books. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, what were you
I was
saying?
just I was gonna say, I remember, this is not to get too in the nitty-gritty, but for a few years when 20th Century Fox owned the movie rights to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, the publishers basically at Marvel Comics said, we don't want to promote these characters anymore because we're not making any money from them. And so all of the FF comics, and most of the X-Men comics for that matter, all got kind of kaputted or put to the wayside. So for a few dark years, there was very little FF, as if, which you
Yeah.
and I had mentioned quite a bit.
Yeah, and it was a dark couple years, and then they had a little bit of a glimpse with the was it Marvel 2-in-1, or it was the
Marvel two and
Marvel.
one, but it was
Yeah, it
Marvel
was
two and
just
one. It was Chip
the Thing and
Zdarsky
Human Torch,
and
Hor
which
and
I was
Human
like,
Torch.
I was happy to have that.
No, I was too. I was also really happy that it's like, okay, this is showing it could work. Let's bring him back. Let's bring him back. And then eventually they brought the team fully back, which was great. And but a lot of the miscon no, what am I trying to say? So a lot of people forget that yes, they are our first family, but also they're not necessarily, I think, superheroes when you are like when they're written well and when they're done well, they're not written as specifically superheroes, but just explorers or adventurers who
Mhm,
do heroic things.
mhm,
And that's what I think the team is, and when it's depicted like that, they
mhm,
really thrive. Because I mean, that's how they started, is by trying to
mhm.
explore space, and then um, they have just fun adventures, but also they have to be a hero in those adventures. So that's what makes the book
Yeah.
fun, I think.
Yeah, I think I wrote it in the notes, but I think it's something effective. They put the human in superhuman. You know what I mean? If that
Yeah.
makes any sense. Or that book put the human in superhuman. Yeah, and I thoroughly agree with you. I'm all on all points
Mm.
you just made. I think FF is one of those teams that's written best when it's essentially I don't want to say Star Trek, but it's almost like Star Trek. It's like, okay, hey, we're going
Mhm.
to explore this thing, or we're going to go into the microverse, or we're going to go explore this alternate timeline, or we're going to go, into some quantum reality. You know what I mean? And it's
Dark
just like,
Side of the Moon.
cool. Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon, and they're the ones who confront all this bigger than life stuff, but still somehow manage to make it granular and like make it, you know, uh I don't want to say maybe rarely is not the word, but they managed to make it like accessible isn't the word, but they managed to bring it down to a level that like someone as quote dumb as the thing can understand him
Mm,
and Johnny. You know what I mean? Like
readable.
it's yeah, yeah,
They make it
exactly,
readable.
exactly. Well, speaking of readable, for
Oh,
those who may have, hey, we're gonna be doing this all day. For those of who may have missed a movie or don't read the comics, let's break down who the FF are, and let's start with number one, Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. Why don't you tackle him, Josh?
yeah, Mr. Fantastic, and it was a self-given name.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his power is stretchability. He can stretch. He can change the his size. He can change his mass too.
Hmm.
But that he uses that secondary, where his main power, you could say, is that he's a super genius. He is
Yeah.
arguably, it depends on if you ask Dr. Doom or not, the smartest person in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And he's usually the de facto leader of the team after he asks Sue what to do. And then he is the reason for the team, and just he is the reason for a lot of different Marvel universe um smart stuff. Like whenever you see like a smart group or the Illuminati or something, he's usually in the forefront of that.
Yeah. Yeah, he it's funny because I was reading some of the notes like Stan Lee when he created the character. He does like, yeah, he's definitely his powers are based on Plastic Man. I thought Plastic Man was cool and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
DC wasn't really using him at the time, so I was like, the hell with it, we'll do that. Yeah, I it's funny because like if you like read enough, they've really kind of darkened the character, or I don't want to say made him autistic, but they've made him kind of like a little bit of a colder character. But when you read some of the earlier stuff, like he was a very fun, friendly dad. And I
Yeah.
think they've kind of gotten away with that a little bit away from that with like you said, the Illuminati. That all said, like, he's the de facto leader. He is the father figure, of the team. And you're right. And he is the one who created the team for better and worse. I mean, it was
Mm.
his decision to fly them into space, and they weren't ready to hit that cosmic radiation, and it mutated all of them, including Ben.
Yeah, he's like you said, they've kind of started to make him more Sherlocky.
Yeah,
That's what I'm starting with
that's a good way to look at it.
his obsessiveness
Yeah,
with the next question. Like Sherlock is obsessed with the next mystery. He's obsessed with the answer to the next question.
yeah.
Whether it be stuff of the universe. What was it? 42. Like he has that with all those
Yeah,
like
the
42
101
where yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah, it was like he has the 100 questions and like what is everything or something like that, like the Hickman stuff. I did
right.
like that in that Hickman run. He just erases all of it because he realizes what's the most important thing. And it's his family, his wife,
Yeah.
which it does all come back to, what I mean?
And
Well,
everything and he has the answer to everything almost except for his best friend.
yeah, well, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of his wife, Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, she's obviously the mother figure of the team who's able to turn invisible and create force fields. It's funny because initially she was like, I would say demure, but like her invisibility almost kind of reflected, it was like almost in a weird way projection where she was trying to not be seen, or there's a reason she was called Invisible Girl. And it
Uh-huh.
wasn't until like John Byrne took over the character in the 200s run of FF where she became Invisible Woman and became much more sure of herself and much more confident. And ultimately, when there's an arc where like Reed gets killed, he's basically lost in the time stream, but he gets killed, and she takes over as the team leader and is like much more of a stronger character. And that's where I'm like, I that was where I started reading FF, is that during that Tom DeFalco era where she was in charge and kicking butt and taking names. So I've always been a bit of a Sue Storm fan in that regard, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know or realize she's one of the most powerful members, not only of the Fantastic Four, but like in the Marvel universe. Like
Hmm, hmm.
her force fields are very
Yeah.
powerful and um the very they're powered by the power cosmic in some
Yeah.
cases. Like some people, it depends on who you read, basically. But I mean, the
Yeah.
whole thing is cosmic rays, so the power cosmic, and that's a lot of people don't understand or realize. Like they kind of showed that in the movie where she's pushing Galactus with her
Just with her
force fields
powers.
by
Yeah.
herself, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy in a sense.
A mother's love will do that.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I think she's a great character in a sense that she has overcome her
Hmm,
time
hmm.
where she was debuted. It was that part of time where women was like, oh, go, you're gonna make some cookies for the team and everybody, like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you silly women and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
um I think the character has overcome a lot of that, which has been
Mm.
great.
Yeah.
Where like she's become like a not I wouldn't say even just the second in command, but she's the because I think her and Reed are both equal in that sense. She's the
I
one that
I think
brings them
now
back
I
to
think
Earth.
now they are. Yeah, I think
Yeah, yeah,
now they are definitely on more much more of an equal level
yeah,
when initially she was. And like I said, I think a lot of that had to do with when he died, she
yeah,
had to step up to the plate, and I think she's like, "Yeah, I'm cool staying here. Like you can come back and come with us, but like I'm not stepping back down, yo."
yeah.
um
And also like she's a leader that they can talk to, where Reed is
yeah.
hard to talk to.
Yeah, she's the human element. She's the mother
Yeah,
figure. I mean, that's the thing.
right.
Is like you have the both the father and the mother dynamic right there. Yeah. I also like that like they've now not retcon, it's kind of a retcon, but they've made it like because of her invisibility powers are so powerful, like they've made her like a secret spy at times. Like Nick Fury will come to him like, "Hey, we have a secret mission for you." She's like, "Cool beans. See ya, team. I'm out to kick some butt and wear some sexy dresses on a dance floor."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like very like True Lies-esque, you know what I mean? I love that about her.
Yeah, she's a fun and interesting character, as is her
Yeah.
brother, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who, pun intended, is the team's hothead, and
Yes.
quite literally.
Figuratively and literally. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, mostly he's depicted as somebody who's impulsive and brash, and just the young the young pretty boy, and their jock, I would say too,
Mhm. Yeah.
jock frat boy. But his whole thing is
Muscle
that
car, gearhead.
yeah, exactly, and his whole power base is he can control and engulf himself in flames, and with that, he can fly, he can shoot flames, he can absorb
Absorb flames.
heat and flames like that, and fire, and he can become super super hot. I think his the hottest he can become, he calls it like a nova blast, and
Yeah. Nova blast.
it's hot as the sun, which
Yeah.
is pretty darn hot. Like at one time when he did that, like what way back in the original Secret Wars, he kind of took out Ultron by
Yeah.
doing that. So he's very he's again each it was funny. It's like each of the Fantastic Four are pretty powerful in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and but with all that though, I mean he's he's the best backup that he'll always have your back. He always has the backup of his team and his
Mhm.
family and his friends,
Yeah.
and he has a strong love for them, and he's also the jokester. So there's a lot of history of him making uh prank pranking, excuse me,
Pranks. Yeah.
yeah, pranks to the thing to Ben Grimm and everybody too, which is
And Spider-Man.
and Spider-Man. Like him and Spider-Man are really good friends.
Yeah.
So in even with the one of my favorite ones is the spider buggy
Yeah, yeah.
stuff, which came from Human
It was the
Torch and
Dan
everything.
yeah, it was the Human Torch Spider-Man 4-issue mini. It was Dan Slott who did that, and it was like I think it was, called I'm with Stupid or something like that.
Yeah. Dan Slott's those like Marvel Adventures, it was geared towards more a younger audience, but Dan Slott
Yeah,
was having so much fun with that. It's like some of funniest writing
yeah,
I've seen in comics, especially like with Spider-Man. Like the whole
yeah.
Ultimate Nullifier with Galactus was one of my favorite panels of like all time.
I think you
I've
remember telling me
even
about it.
Yeah, he's just like he Galactus comes and it's him and I think Scott, Ant-Man. They find the Ultimate Nullifier and Galactus is just like, you realize what that's gonna do. That's way too much for you. You could do this. This could be you could be catastrophic. The best thing you can do is just give that to me now. Don't even think about what it could happen. Just you're too small, you're too stupid to understand. And there's just a panel of just Spider-Man and Scott just looking at him and then looking at him, and he just um, without even breaking his stare at Galactus, he just presses the Ultimate Nullifier,
He
and it's
presses
just
the
great.
button.
Yeah, it's just great. It's just one of my favorite, just like comedic moments.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like a great Spider-Man moment. And then last, but of course, certainly not least, we
Not
have to
least.
talk about Mr. Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, which is maybe one of the worst superhero names, but
I
also the
love it.
best.
I was gonna say I love it.
Yeah.
I genuinely love the Thing.
Oh yes.
In my opinion, he is the heart and soul of the team. You know, he's a monster made of
Yeah.
rock who's got super strength, and he's cursed with the fact that he's forever stuck in this rocky form. You know, when he was originally written, he was a complete curmudgeon and hated, you know, not hated Reed, but was very upset at Reed for inflicting this, you know, I wouldn't say it's not disease, but this curse on him. But over the years, he's like obviously softened figuratively and come to
Right.
terms with it in terms of his life. Yeah, the Thing
Yeah.
is the best. There's a reason like the Thing has been able to carry his own like mini series year after year or his own ongoing series for at times. Like the Thing is great.
Yeah, and he's like you said, he's the heart and soul of the team, but he's also the everyman to us. Like,
Yep.
um, he's the reason why Reed has to explain, do the exposition, explain everything.
Hmm.
And he has that for that non giving up kind of attitude, the
Yeah.
forever fighting, and
Hmm.
he is the epitome of the I could do this all day,
Yeah.
um which is like, especially with his fights with the Hulk, like he goes back and forth with the Hulk, knowing like some of the best fights in comics, but knowing he's not
Mhm.
as strong as the Hulk. But
Yeah, but he
you
can
know,
still hold his own for the most part. It's funny. I
will hold
remember
his
like
own. Yeah,
even I remember like even the trading cards where they'd have like the power rankings and where it's like the Hulk is a 7 and the Thing is a 6. Like, you know, he's
right,
just under the Thing or the Hulk, who is the strongest there is.
right.
So
And there's but it's what gives him his edge is just his unwillingness to give up, and
yeah.
that kind of baffles the Hulk sometimes too. And I think now too, one thing they pun intended, one thing that they started is that Reed has found a way to bring him back, to his old body for one day a year.
Yeah. No one did here. Yeah.
And but in that, that's when he ages. So he
Hmm.
basically just ages one day a year. So he has a huge lifespan
Yeah.
because of that. And so that gives him a little bit more of like added lore or history uh to him. But he's the ever loving blue eyed thing,
What a
and
revolt in development.
revolting development, and then it's clobbering time.
Yeah.
um
What's great about him too is it's pretty obvious and it's been verified that like basically he's or Jack Kirby or he's based on Jack Kirby. He's essentially he grew up in the mean streets of New York City,
right.
and learned how to and it's this sort of curmudgeon-y, smokes a cigar, kind of don't take no guff from nobody kind of attitude, and it's very much Jack Kirby. So you're reading that
Rocky eyebrows.
yeah, exactly. Literally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of the FF for those of you. I mean, most of you all know if you're listening to this podcast, we're assuming
Yeah.
you know who they are, but just for the cheap seats.
No, yeah.
Uh,
If you haven't, I mean, some people might not have heard of them until seeing the movie, and they're like, "Hey, who are these characters?" And more
well,
deep dive.
yeah, it's funny you should say because like I had a friend ask me. He was like, "What? Who cares? Like they've had 3 movies that have been all garbage. Like, who cares about why are they important?" And that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit here, was why, because and after I explained it, he was like, oh, wow. He's like, someone needs to do like a video on that because the way you described it, like that does sound important. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, so we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that right now before we break down the book. But like, what is the origin of the FF? As we said, the first issue came out in 1961. It's basically 4 adventurers are trying to beat the commies to space in the space race, and they steal their rocket and they fly out there and they get hit by cosmic rays, and that all mutates them into the various characters that we just described with their powers. The actual real life origin of it was like Stan Lee at the time had been working for Marvel since like 1941, and he was just kind of like he was embarrassed to work in comics. Like he was like, this is embarrassing. When anybody asked him like,
That's why he
what
changed
does
his
he
name.
do? His originally was Stan
Leibowitz.
Lieber, Stan Lee Lieber, or Stan Lee Lieberwitz, yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he just changed his name to Stan Lee. And he was like, well, I'm gonna save my name for when I actually read a good book, because he wanted to be a great American novelist. And so anyway, at around 1960, he's been doing a lot of stuff for Marvel, because like it was a little bit of nepotism there. He was like married to like the publisher's daughter
Lieber.
or
I'm
cousin or
sorry. Not
yeah,
Leibowitz.
yeah,
Lieber. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yes. That's right. I thought it was Lee
You had
wrong.
it right.
Oh, maybe I'm
You
wrong.
had it right. You had it right. Apology.
Okay. Hey, it's late, baby. It's late.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting it though right now instead of
Yeah.
at the end of the
Yeah. No,
episode.
exactly.
Anyway, long story short is he's like, I think I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. He's writing like stupid westerns and like monster comics and all that stuff. What happens is his wife, 2 things happen. One, his wife is like, you know what, you've been working this for 20 years and just kind of putting it off. Why don't you really just buckle down and do it? Go for it. Write what you want to write. You don't care anymore. Write what you want to write. Do what you want to do. And at that same time, Martin Goodman, who's basically the owner of Marvel, he finds out that, hey, that Justice League of America comic over at DC is killing it. I want my own superhero team. I want because superheroes weren't being done at Marvel, and he's like, I want some superhero stuff back over here. So he basically tells like Stanley, go make the Righteous League or something to that effect. And like Stanley's like, this is the stupidest idea. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it my way. Teams up with Jack Kirby again, who both of them kind of went back and forth. Like there's a little bit of beef back in the 40s, but Jack is like, I can't work at DC because there was like an ongoing lawsuit. It's like, I got to take this work. And so he basically helps him and Lee create the Fantastic Four. And it is an instant success, like instantly right off the gate. It is different than anything else that has like happened. One of the things I think it was Roy Thomas or someone to that effect. They talked about like how like over at DC, like you could literally move the arrow on the word bubbles and change the direction to like a different character, and it wouldn't have changed the comic at all. You know what I mean? Like all the characters were just like plug and play. Like, okay, oh, we've got to fight these bad guys. Yes, let's do that, and then eat some cookies. It's like that kind of really lame dialogue. you know, over at Marvel, it's like this was a real family with real problems, and they didn't like each other, and they were human, and it was those elements that made this book stand out from all the other books. And Marvel realized, like, we've got a hit here. We've got a hit here. And suddenly then you got Thor, you got the Hulk, you got Spider-Man, you got the X-Men and the Avengers. And they realized, like, it's like, like I said, DC may have had the perfected the superhuman, Marvel perfected the human in superhuman.
Mhm.
And that's why the FF is important. They kicked all of this off, you know?
Yeah, and the issue grabs your attention from that first cover too, which is an iconic cover
Yeah.
with the monster coming out of, so it helps to like they were like the whole Hulk thing where it's like, hey, if it doesn't work, it's hey, no, this was a monster book.
Yeah, exactly. What I love too is like you look at that cover of FF number one, it's like, and bringing together them for the first time, for Invisible
Mhm.
Woman, Human Torch, the Thing, and the Human, whatever. It's like together for the first time. I was like, yeah, it was the first issue with all of them, but they were aping off the success of Justice League, which is like, look, for the first time, we've got Wonder Woman,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
Flash. And it was like Stanley was like, hey, look, we didn't say we're not lying,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know.
Go- I
Which you
gotcha.
could argue though, the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, but yeah,
Yeah.
I digress. Um, yeah, and like I said, I know, there's so much history that has spawned out of the FF. I mean, their history a little bit more than I. Um,
People don't realize all the stuff that's come from Fantastic Four, like that,
mhm,
just it molds Marvel as we know it today.
yeah,
Inhumans came from Fantastic Four. Kree, Skrulls, Doctor Doom, Black
Bl-
Panther, um,
Galactus, the Watcher,
Galactus, the Watcher, Silver
Annihilus,
Surfer,
the Negative Zone.
Annihilus, the concept of the negative zone, the Adelan, the microverse. Um, there's just so much. I mean, that's just off the top of my head right now.
Mhm,
Um, and it's all that stuff is shaped like the concept of the cosmic powers.
mhm.
Um, um,
Well, and even beyond that too, just the history itself, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it's like the idea of the flawed hero going to, like I said, you've got Spider-Man and Iron Man and Thor and the X-Men. It's like the idea that these heroes are human. I mean, this
mhm.
came out of that. Like comics would be a completely different. I mean, who knows? Maybe that someone would have figured it out next. But comics would have been completely different if it hadn't been for the FF. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or in Marvel itself would be completely different. I don't think we'd
Absolutely.
have the same Marvel.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, let's put it this way. Marvel was circling the tube so fast that literally DC came to them and says, this is right before the FF, and they're like, "Hey,
Mhm.
we'll buy." They wanted Human Torch, Namor, and Captain America. They were going to buy them for what was essentially $15,000 at the time,
Hmm.
and like the owner who almost considered it. He's like, but he was like a millionaire. He's like, "What's 15,000?" No, I'll just hold on to it. But I mean, like that's how bad Marvel was doing. They were willing to sell their back catalog, which was just, I mean, there was plenty of comics, but like those three only characters that would like stood out, that were worth saving.
Yeah,
But you know,
it's kind of like how Marvel did with their movie characters
yeah, a
later on.
little bit. Well, it's like DC has a history of like they bought Shazam or Captain Marvel. They bought all
Yeah.
the Charlatan comics, which is essentially what the basis of the Watchmen is, which is like the Question and all those cats. So Marvel and DC is kind of known for picking up characters on the cheapy cheap.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, it's just again, it's funny of what could have been.
Yeah.
The whole the multiverse, the timelines, and all that stuff. I mean, uh, just Adam Warlock was from Fantastic Four at first.
Oh, I know. Yeah, him. I think is what his name was.
Yeah,
Him.
Kang as Rama
Yep.
Tut,
Yep.
Agatha
Oh,
Harkness.
or an yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
there's so
mean,
much that came out of it. I mean, even not even from the Jack Lee Stan Lee stuff. I mean, we're just
yeah,
Jack Kirby Stan Lee stuff. I mean, like even stuff that came out after the fact. The trial of Galactus. And the
right.
various heralds like Terrax and Nova all of that. It's amazing how much history is tied to the FF. As you said, like, it's funny. I didn't consider myself an FF fan, but as I've kind of gone through and seen a all the issues I've collected over the years, but b like the trades I have, I'm like, oh no, I really do enjoy the FF. I'm so first and foremost like an X-Men kid. Like I kind of forget that, like, that there's this whole other team. It's a corner of the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, without the FF, we wouldn't have Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, that's true. And that's true, and that's because of the son. Well, no, but I mean, like Heroes Return, at the very least, they use
Yeah,
Franklin, the son of
that's
Breed
what.
and
Yeah,
Sue, to bring those heroes back and give us Heroes Reborn, or Heroes Return rather. Well, let's get into the book itself. Let's talk a little bit about the creative team. Do you mind if I tackle the writer
please,
Mark Russell? Okay.
please, Mark
He's
Russell.
Mark Russell. He is, just to put this out there. He is my second favorite Mark in comics. First is always Mark
That's a pretty
Waid, but
high
then Mark.
bar.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got Mark Grunwald, you got Mark Millar, you've got Mark Sumerich, you've got
That's what
Mark
I'm saying.
Guggenheim,
Yeah, I'm saying
Mark
there's a lot of
Bagley.
marks, and
Yeah,
so yeah,
there's quite a few marks. Actually, I was like, this is gonna be a funny joke. No, there's quite a few marks in
yeah.
comics, but Mark Waid is obviously my favorite Mark. But number two is Mark Russell. He's an Eisner Award-winning writer known for his biting satire and critiques of late-stage capitalism. He intermingles humor and heart so easily that sometimes you kind of forget that if you're laughing or you're crying over some of his books. He got his start writing an updated and rather condensed version of the Old Testament. It's called God is Disappointed in You. It is effing hilarious, and I actually I copy pasted a little bit of it in here just to give you a little quick teaser of what it was. This is his brief paragraph describing the story of Noah's Ark. God was so angry that he killed off the entire human race with a giant flood. Well, not the whole human race. He gave one guy named Noah a heads up. Before the flood, Noah built an enormous boat and filled it with every species of animals he could find, which made Noah not only the world's first sailor, he was also the world's first animal hoarder as well. As soon as he was finished packing the boat, the flood began. After 40 days and nights of rain and a meat heavy diet, the water subsided and Noah found land. When God saw the millions of dead bodies littering the ground, he wondered if maybe he had overreacted.
Oh
Sort of
goodness.
that kind of condensing of the Old Testament. If you're interested, by the way, like the audiobook is read by Rusty Venture, aka James Urbaniak, and it's really funny. It's really good.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, it's really good. If you get a chance, just check it out. On top of that, he's written to books like Billionaire Island, Not All Robots, Second Coming, the most recent Flintstones reboot, which for a book that is about a cartoon from the 60s based on prehistoric cavemen and dinosaurs, it is somehow the most socially relevant comic to come out in the last 10 years. Um,
Yeah,
you know that
it's
as
so good. No, we even did an old We Got Issues episode when we were in
did we
Alpha
do
about it.
did we
'Cause
do
it's,
that one? Oh
oh yeah, no,
man.
I remember.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I still have screen grabs from it. Yeah, no, it was
oh
so
man.
good. Like the way that he turned with the water buffalo group, that he had to
Yeah.
like
Yep.
a veterans group, and then how Bam
Oh,
Bam was an
the
orphan of
story of Bam
war.
Bam was yeah, the story of Bam Bam is heartbreaking.
Crazy. No, it's
Yeah.
so good. It's definitely
Yeah.
something to check out. It was under the whole DC Rebirth stuff, and it's something to really read for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Other books include X Factor. He did a brief run there. Traveling to Mars, which one I think won the Eisner. Snagglepuss, which is part of that whole Flintstones
Hmm.
thing. Superman Space Age and Batman Dark Age, and he's doing the third part of that, which is going to be Wonder Woman Golden Age. And like those books, like this book, are kind of like steeped in the moments in time, and the hero ages through like the era, like, so it's like
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne goes to Vietnam and then comes back and like all that kind of stuff. So those are I can't speak highly enough of the guy, and it sounds like Josh, you're kind of a stand for him as well, if I would argue.
Yeah, I really like this book that we're going to be talking about, and then also the Flintstones is just one of my
Yeah.
tops because it's something you don't expect. So
No.
it's a great book, and it grabs you right away. It just it surprises you, I think, is
Yeah,
what the main thing.
it's
Like we were
shocking.
surprised
Yeah.
how poignant it was, how biting, and then how good the writing was.
Mhm.
And
Do you wanna talk
with that,
Go ahead.
yeah, with it though, the with the writer, you have also the artiste, which is Sean Isaacs, and I did my research this time, so I made sure how to say his name right because his name does not look like Isaacs.
No,
It's
it
like
does not.
Izaaakse, and the reason for that,
Yes.
he's a South African artist known for his comic
Mhm.
book style art, kind of like superhero in tights and action sequences. Like fans of, I would say, like fans of like Stuart Immonen or Jim Lee will really like his superhero stuff, and I think um this book is somewhat a little bit different from his normal stuff because
Is
it's, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
this book is a little bit more grounded than normal superhero books.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so but it's still very, I mean, his depiction of Galactus is so good.
Oh, yeah.
When you first when we first meet him, not meet him, but when you first get the glimpse of him, like that's a really cool panel.
Yeah.
And we'll post that on the social too of just what I'm talking about because it's such a cool, like his him eating the planets type of thing.
The mouth.
It's awesome. Yeah, those it's like scary and beautiful at the same time. It's weird. But he's also known for books like Green Arrow, which is a fun one, Superman, Fantastic Four, Champions, and the Avengers. So, and
Mhm.
what'd you think of his work on this book, Brian? Because I really liked it. It was clean and it was done well.
I found it to be subdued in a good way, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense. Said outside of the Galactus stuff, it reminded me of a little bit of, like, the Tom Grummett stuff that you would see from the '90s. Like, you look at, like, his stuff, like, right, that he does, like, on Green Arrow, and it's more like Dan Mora meets Jim Lee, whereas
Mhm.
this felt a little bit smoother lines, and everything didn't feel, like, angular, if that makes any sense, and I think it worked for the book. That's just my take on it. I thought it worked well, though.
No, I agree. I think it was just it was very, the whole thing was, it was clean and it wasn't too it kind of reminded me a little bit of Waringo too. There's some like
Okay. Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah, yeah,
his
yeah, very, like
Mad
yeah, yeah,
Thinker was like very Waringo, and
yeah.
how, the Doom pre pre armor is what I'm trying to say is
Yeah.
Doom like.
Yeah, like I said, I don't wanna say keep using the word '90s, but it had, like, a '90s feel, like I said, yeah, and not the crappy '90s, I just mean, like, like, with big pouches or anything like this.
No such
It
thing as
reminded me
crappy
it
90s. How dare you?
there, how dare I? No, I do mean that, like, Tom Grummett is actually, he's the guy who did, like, Superboy back in the day and did some Superman stuff back in the day. It had that kind of feel or that vibe to it. I do think some of the paneling or some of the storytelling, I kinda got lost. I had to go back and reread it a few times, and I wasn't sure if it was the writing or if it was the paneling. I was like, I kind of missed what happened. I had to go back and reread it, but overall, like, I really enjoyed it.
Mhm. Yeah, it was just, it worked with the story very well, and it was a good, it was just great.
Yeah.
That's all the best I can say. I mean, even
Well,
that,
so
panel when they introduced the team, in the suits
mhm,
and stuff at the beginning, it was just
mhm.
good.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
covers too were really good.
the covers are dynamite. The covers are
Yeah.
dynamite.
Those are, it's,
Um,
different, like, they have, like, the, what's the, just the
they
layouts
evoke
of it.
each Yeah, they also evoke each era, like, "Oh, this feels like it's from the '70s, this feels like it's from the '60s, and this
Yeah.
feels." If that, at least that's what I got.
Has, like, a little bit of a, like, a Jacques, um, ness to it.
Okay,
Jacques, just what he did for, when he did the Old Man Logan stuff, just that
okay,
the coloring in
okay.
the layouts were just like, especially the, which one was it? The issue 5 with the
Mhm,
Latveria.
mhm, mhm.
Um, that just was very Jock to me.
Okay.
Jock to me. So
Well, why don't we break down the book? Do you wanna tackle issue 1 and kind of, because it's, like I said, 6 issues. Each issue focuses on 1 decade of their
right,
life.
right,
Why
and
don't you kick it off?
Yeah. So this starts in the 60s, and each book too is the perspective of one of the teammates. So this first one is all from the perspective of Reed. Like we're in his thoughts, and he's narrating this decade
Mhm.
for us. And it's the we get the intro of the team and their initial launch to become the first Americans in space, and they are successful in getting in space because the whole thing is trying to um, beat the Russians, and they're bombarded by cosmic radiation, transforming all of them and leaving Ben angry and that he's now a rock monster, which that makes sense. And
I do
what
like though that they joke that we're the first Americans, the third people into space, beaten by Ruskies and a dog.
yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. It's always the dog.
It's always the
Um,
dog.
and uh, with that though, it's because they cut these powers, and they quickly become celebrities, and they're up there. They're the other Fab Four with the Beatles,
Yes.
and in this whole issue, because the whole decade, JFK is assassinated.
Mhm.
Sue and Reed get married. There's a lot of equal rights protesting, which Sue is in the forefront for
Mhm.
happening. And then Ben is also given an opportunity to get his body back by swapping with another scientist, Dr. Jones, who is they kind of introduced more when Reed is trying to get into space.
Yep.
Um, the Dr. Jones felt that he was kind of slighted by Reed after he kind of took away his place in the history books,
Yeah.
which was in the beginning, right, or something like
It's right at the
it's
beginning,
taken from
basically
the
when
book.
Yeah. Well, it's JFK is right at the top. It's like, "Hey, we gotta get into space." And the guy's like, "Well, we gotta do it this way." He's like, "No, we're gonna go with Reed's thing." And the guy's like pissed at them about it.
Yeah,
And then eventually, yeah. And like you
but it's
just said,
taken from
yeah,
like an
eventually
old
he
school issue though too,
yeah,
right? It's like
issue
Fantastic Four
f
like
it yeah,
50.
he basically goes to the thing, knocks him out, and, like, is able to pretend to be the thing to, like, infiltrate, like, the Fantastic Four headquarters, like, yo, bro, you're not the thing. You maybe look like the thing, but you're not Ben." And so, I think if I recall, I think he ends up in the negative zone after that, but I digre I think it's the same thing where, like, it's a very similar thing that happens. He gets lost in another dimension at the end of the book. I'm like, "Oh, well, that
Yeah.
sucks."
Oopsie. Too bad, so sad.
Whoopsie.
Um And then there's also the big whole thing that kind of drives the first I don't want to say the first half, but most of the life
Most of the
story
book.
is when they get hit by the cosmic rays. Reed is hit by this vision of Galactus, and he gets this vision of like what Galactus is and what he does, and that he's like coming for them. And the rest of the time he's desperate to find out kind of more about Galactus, because at the time he doesn't even know his name. It's just
Yeah.
this haunting face, this haunting figure, and he needs to find more about him and how to stop him, because um, he needs to just to stop him from eating the Earth. So that's what gives him like this. It's the driving force of the rest of the story, like I said. So um,
Yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
it's really depicted very well, like very hauntingly, and
Mhm.
like they are not ready for this. It's
Nope.
And Reed is freaking out.
Yep, and that kinda becomes his motivation, like you said, to the point not only does it become the impetus to the book, it's also his motivation throughout the rest of the book to the point where he almost puts everything else in his life on hold, and that has repercussions and ramifications. It basically becomes the theme of the book, like,
Yeah,
are you so worried about the future that you're not living in the now? You know what I mean?
yeah, we like you said, you get more into it throughout the decades.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
it's just a great driving and depiction of Galactus in this world, because
mhm.
and it's a great way to do it without the Watcher.
Yes, I forgot about that aspect of it all. Well, it also gives it a ticking clock, 'cause you know he's coming, you just
Yes.
don't know when. And as all these other adventures and character developments occur, it's, like, always in the back of the thing, it's like, "When is this gonna happen? When is this gonna happen?" And each, decade, piece by piece, it gets closer and closer and closer until bam,
Yeah,
you know?
there's just nothing they can. It's as far as he knows. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah. And then the decade sort of ends with, basically the birth of Franklin, Richards, which is Reed and Sue's kid, and Neil
Right.
Armstrong walking on the moon, which I liked. I liked that there was the intersperse of real events along with, these comic events. Like, they didn't stop the JFK assassination. They didn't get to
Right.
they didn't get into space before the Russians. We did get to the moon before. Neil Armstrong did get to the moon without the help of the FF. And it's funny because as the book does progress, eventually you do see the impact of superheroes, and all these events do have real world ramifications. But at least initially with their birth, like the Beatles still happen and they're just as big, and
Yeah,
and all that,
because they meet him backstage at that
Yeah,
Sullivan
at the
show.
end. Yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly. Is it just
they
good?
get like they didn't get bumped, but like they're on the
Yeah.
same ticket.
Yeah. What's interesting is I was watching an interview with Mark Russell, and he was talking about how he's like, yeah, there's certain things, certain people we couldn't include, even though they were like historical people, like their likeness is copyrighted, or like you can't like just use them ad nauseum. Whereas there's other characters like presidents, like you can use them, no, they're public figures. But like, for example, like Martin Luther King, it was implied that he wanted to use Martin Luther King, but he couldn't. Like it's very
Uh-huh.
his image and his speeches are very protected by the family. And so, like, it was interesting, like, the certain, historical, figures that do kinda pop up, because, we'll see in the next issue, one of the big women's lib writers shows up, and it's a brief cameo, but I thought it was just neat.
Oh, for sure. And like, let's move on to the second issue too, of
Okay.
which like this is from the perspective of Sue
Yeah.
on this one, and then we get the introduction of Doctor Doom or Victor Von Doom because
Mhm.
he hasn't gotten his doctorate yet. I mean, he
Nope.
has. I'm just kidding, but he hasn't gotten the crazy he hasn't become the villain that we all know and love. And then we also get Mad Thinker, Black Panther, and Namor. And um, at the time, though, Sue is a stay-at-home mom, but she's wanting to do more.
More. Yeah.
Um, even to like the point where um, they have a whole thing where they're trapped by Doctor Doom and they pretend that Sue was there.
Oh, Matt Thinker, Matt
Uh,
Thinker.
Mad Thinker,
Was it
excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, no problem.
And they pretend that Sue is there, but she's at home the whole time.
Watching the
And
kid.
yeah, and with that, like Doom kind of teams up with Reed, because at this time they're besties, they're best friends. So
Well, they went to in the original books, they went to college
yeah,
together.
they weren't roommates, but because
No,
he was in the books, he was roommates with
Ben's his
Ben.
roommate. Ben's
Yeah,
his roommate, but they were both at university together. And
yeah.
what happens is, like, Reed's like, "Hey, one of your equations is wrong," and Doom's like, "How dare you? You don't know what
How
you're
dare
talking
you?
about." And then boom, it explodes in his face, scarring him permanently. Which is why he wears the mask.
Right, and speaking of that too, like for the different depictions of Doctor Doom and of that scar,
Yeah.
which what do you like that if it's like completely scarred and stuff, or there's also I've seen like where he just
It's just
has like
it's a
a little
brief nick.
scar on it, yeah,
Yeah.
on his face.
Yeah. Yeah, for those who don't know, like you said, like he like I said, his face got supposedly mutilated in an explosion, but because he wore a mask, we never saw what his face was. Then, like
Right.
Josh just said, some people, he's so arrogant and vain that even a little nick on his face would be so abhorrent that he would wear a mask. But there's other ones that his face is completely blown off. Like, I think in Secret War, the 2015 series, he takes his mask off and you see like his nose
Yeah.
is like blown off and all that. Um I personally, in my head canon, I like the idea that he is so arrogant and vain that even a Nick
Hmm.
would have him wear
Yeah,
a mask, even though you can clearly see like under in the eye area that it's
it's
obviously
like
there's some
burnt.
bubbles and burns and stuff like that. But in my head canon, I love the idea that he is so arrogant that even
Yeah.
the slightest like razor burn would be enough to be like, no, I'm
No,
wearing a
for
mask the
sure.
rest of my
I
you know.
I back and forth on that too. I do like that the arrogance and that kind of is the whole it shows more of his character with that
Yes.
and why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
So it's he's a fun and interesting character that I'm pretty sure we're gonna learn more about in the coming years.
I'm
Um
sure we will. Uh
but in this issue, he's teaming up with Reed, and they're trying to find a solution to Galactus. Because at the time, nobody's really believing Reed Richards because he is the only one that got that vision. Nobody else on the team did.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
him trying to say like, look, this storm is coming. We need to find a way around it, and nobody is like, all right, dude, like cool, like with this
Sure, bro.
some space ghost coast to coast
Yeah.
is
Space
out there.
demon.
Yeah, space
Yeah.
demon, and that but that Rita becomes obsessed with it, and he that drives a wedge between him and Sue, really,
Yeah.
who she can't, like we said before, she kind of gave up being involved with the women's liberation and equal rights to really take care of Franklin.
Yeah,
And
there's literally that scene where Franklin's, like, holding a gun and, like, it's like,
right,
"I can't take care of him. You need to come home right
yeah,
now and deal
exactly.
with
When
it."
it was yeah, when she was at this
Actual
meeting.
protest.
Oh, this
Yeah.
protest. I'm sorry, and then from that protest, though, I mean, she becomes she gets invited to this meeting with other heroes like
Mhm.
Captain America and Black Panther and Namor, uh, to really speak to the UN because they realize that they need to do more than just like
Punch
punch
people.
punch people and punch this guy. And she gives a great speech, I guess, in front of the UN,
Yeah.
and it just shows that helps her build her confidence.
Yeah, and I like that, like, leading up to that, like I said, there was, you see her in line, she's getting a copy of the Feminine Mystique, which was one of the I think it's like I wanna say the second wave feminism books, but it was basically like one of the big feminism books, and it's like the author, I think it's Betty Friedan, writes in there like, "Don't stay invisible forever," because she recognizes her as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, and she's
Mhm.
like, "Don't stay invisible forever," and she's like, "You're right, I have to come out of the shell. I can't just be a stay-at-home mom making cookies for the boys and all that kind of stuff, you know?"
Right. She
Of course, at
she
that UN
can
speech,
do
go ahead.
more, and no, I'm saying she
Yeah,
can do more, and she wants to do more.
yeah. Of course, at that UN speech, things go sideways.
What? What? Who do you think would attack a UN speech?
I don't know. You know what? That seems like something I don't I'm doomed to
Well,
figure this out.
right, right. Well, lucky for you, we read the issue, and we know that it's Doom, who really his solution is to kill all the heroes of the UN and rule the Earth and its resources to really stop Galactus. That's what he has been planning all
He
along, and they were developing this art. Reed and Doom were developing the armor, and that's what he uses to become his new set of armor.
I love that Doom is just like all or nothing. Like he is just
Yeah,
like, all in. He's like, if this is how we're gonna do it, like I'm gonna kill everybody, and
right.
that's how we're gonna get this done. And it's just like,
It's
you
it's
know, sh-
all or nothing as long as he's the one that gets the
yeah.
all.
Exactly. Exactly. Of course, Sue is able to stop him, and I love that he's like Reed, like, realizes like Doom's behind it all. Like, look out, like, where's Sue? It's that whole like, look out behind you. He's like, you think I'm
Yeah,
gonna fall for Bam?
yeah, yeah.
You think I'm gonna
I-
fall for that trick?
it's one of those like it's the Doom and Thanos have the problem where they're their worst enemies. Like Doom's
Yes.
arrogance is the reason why he loses most of the time.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Well,
And that was
absolutely.
just perfect kind
Well,
of depiction of that.
I was gonna say if anybody's reading One World Under Doom right now,
Yeah,
that
goodness.
definitely, yeah,
Which
that book.
which we'll get into too once we get into his solution to Galactus, because there's a lot of similarities between
Yeah, that's
those
true.
two moments.
That's very true.
Um,
That's very true.
but and then Sue is able to stop him, like you said, and she is done being invisible to
Yes.
Reed, and that's when she leaves Reed and
Yeah, she's like,
takes
"Peace out."
Franklin, and she starts to hang out with Mr. Namor.
No, she straight up shacks up. She's like,
Yeah,
"Here's your
yeah,
beach house. We're making out." I mean, like, she's like, "I'm gone. I'm like,
right,
I'm not your doormat anymore, Reed." And it ends with like
yeah.
Reed single in a bar drinking and the thing going like, "All right, buddy, we're moving in together, pal."
Yeah, man, that's an amazing sitcom that I would want to see,
Oh,
like a
The
90s
Ben and Reed
sitcom.
show.
Yeah, there's a 90s sitcom with that, just whatever the theme music, like, somebody needs to make a theme, like, intro.
Stretching out our
Yeah.
love.
Right, that's right.
But when you're stuck
For
between a rock and a rubber band.
yeah, I was gonna say a rock or a stretchy place or something, like, it's like The Odd Couple, and
Yeah, it is.
except, like, Ben is more the clean one and Reed is
He's the
the one
drunk.
who's just it's like Ben is like, "Oh, Reed, you didn't wash the dishes after dinner. What are you doing?" And Reed just goes, "Galactus, Galactus," and just runs around. Um,
Well, and it's ironically, that's how the issue ends.
yeah,
Something big is coming, you know?
which is
Um,
like, "I feel like I've been taking crazy pills. I've been right all along, you jerks."
well, that leads us into issue 3 of the '80s, and we get the perspective of Johnny. And Reed and Tony are trying to convince the Reagan administration to fund their Stop Galactus project. And of course, the Reagan administration is more interested in stopping those damn Ruskies,
The
those
Ruskies.
Soviet Unions.
Oh,
Um,
like, in that too, Reagan is, like, all for it, and then you have this one PR guy in the background. It's like, "Well, this isn't really marketable."
Yeah. Oh, I love. He's like, well, the missiles seem to be pointing towards out from Earth. Shouldn't they be pointing towards Earth?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he's like, yeah, but we're trying. That's like shooting ourselves in the foot. We have to save everybody in the world. Yeah, but most of them aren't U.S. taxpayers. So what do we care?
yeah,
It's like,
exactly, yeah.
Christ.
Goodness.
And it's like it's
Uh,
a little too real. And that's where you see like Mark Russell, and it's funny because when he wrote this book, he's like
yeah.
he stayed away from the satire. He was trying to, but I was like, yep, there's a little bit of it right there. I'm like, and it's
You're
a
like,
little too
"There it
real.
is.
There it
There it
is.
is." Um,
Uh, Meanwhile, all that's going on. Franklin's powers are going out of control because he's now a teenager at this point, and Uncle Johnny's got to bail him out of jail. Because if you don't know, Franklin is like one of the most powerful entities in the
yeah,
Marvel universe.
yeah, but they also depower him a lot in this book. I think
Well, and they had to,
yeah, no,
you
of
know.
course, yeah, no, I understand that, yeah, and of course they did, but he went from a universe creating, power set to
Yeah,
more of just a guy who has really good
psychic powers.
psychic powers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and they took a lot of I say they took, I would say liberties, but they took a certain amount of liberties with the book. They kind of had to. It's funny
Mm,
because, like, there's the book, The History of the Marvel Universe, which is like a 6-issue series that depicts the beginnings of the Marvel Universe up to basically the end. And it's all, if I recall, it's Galactus and Franklin looking over the entire history of time. It's the
mm.
two of them having a conversation about it, which just kind of goes to show how powerful Franklin will become eventually, at
Yeah,
least in the normal FF.
yeah, yeah, and in modern FF too,
That's what I mean. That's the modern that modern version of the FF. I
oh
mean,
yeah, but also just in that recently they were on like a summer vacation. He was just making universes.
yeah, as you do. I mean,
Yeah,
that's normal. That's normal. That's
that's a
normal stuff.
normal
You
thing.
do. That's a Friday.
Like he's
Um,
creating vast, y- uh,
yeah,
vast systems of life. And again, like we mentioned before, he made the Heroes Reborn
yep,
universe on a whim. So
yeah. It was literally Counter Earth on the other side
right,
of our orbit. Yeah, which is crazy. On top of that, though, Johnny has to give Reed some unfortunate papers. He is serving him with divorce papers.
Divorce papers.
Yeah, which it's like He's like, I forget how he described it. He's like, "What was it like?" It's like he was like, "Well, how do you take it?" It's like Santa Claus kicking you in the nuts or something like that.
Yeah. God.
He then gives a very cynical speech at the UN about how the world is doomed, which I thought was interesting. He's like, "Hey, we're all gonna die, so
Right.
let's just party."
Right.
Uh,
Is the different type of mindset where Reed is like trying to stop it and then Johnny's accepting it.
Yeah, which then he's confronted by Viktor Frankl, who the he was a survivor of the Holocaust, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, and he explains to him is like, "This is how I literally lived between death, between the fences where people were shot, and then the gas chambers. I literally lived in that area." He's like, "Yeah, you're right. We are gonna die, but like, there's a way to live. You don't have to just give up." I thought it was an interesting, like, again, like not celebrity cameo, but I thought it was interesting the way they tied in. Um, Real world people and real world events into this book.
Yeah.
Um, I digress.
No, it's very good.
Uh, Meanwhile, the Reagan administration has teamed up with a disguised mad thinker and have given him access to
Yeah.
money and science and Doctor Doom so they can speed up their Star Wars program. That's not going to end badly.
Right. And it's all the computers too, like the way
Yeah.
using um computers as the way in. And I like how the Mad Thinkers become a bigger um character in this
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and throughout this book, which was great. And he just his answer for everything. My computers can make an algorithm that can help out with anything.
Well, I do like though that there's some intelligence on his part because like they talk about how like like the U.S. was sending nuclear armed bombers right up to the border of of U.S. or of Soviet territory, and then turning them around at the last second just to keep the Soviets on their toes. And he's like,
Yeah.
one day that's gonna blow up in your face. Like one day, it's like it hasn't happened yet, but like you're gonna have a guy who's gonna realize like I've got cancer, and he's just gonna hit the buttons to launch the nukes, or you're gonna have another person, just who's making $80 a day and doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like he was like,
Right.
that's not smart. Just so you can have the perception of power. Like this is stupid.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow up. And that's what leads to them like, okay, yeah, well, maybe we'll try it your way. And of course, he wants to do that, which we just described how like Doom, tried to destroy all the heroes of at the UN to take over the world. His idea is no, let's set off a nuclear war.
Yeah.
That way, we will.
Uninhabitable.
It makes the planet inhabitable, and Galactus will just
Yeah.
pass us on as roadkill,
Right.
and then the survivors can come out. We can rule the world that way. It's like even like Doom's like, that's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
You're insane, friend.
I know when Doom is saying that, and Doom is like in this weird prison in the UN too, where he's
Yeah.
just like, it's like he hasn't left since he got beat by Sue Storm. And
Yeah.
one little tidbit too about the Mad Thinker is when he was under the disguise, trying to sway the Reagan administration. He was under the name Dr. Jose Santini,
It was
and
Tony Santini or something like that. Yeah, I forget what it was.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
something.
was it was, and that's what it was pulled from the old Fantastic Four,
Oh, okay.
and that's how he impersonated that doctor as well in old issues of Fantastic Four. Like
Nice.
at the time,
Nice.
like they thought that was his real name and stuff. So it's just kind of like
Yeah.
another
Nice little
pull,
Easter egg.
yeah, Easter egg, and like a history pull.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Of
Yeah.
course. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, I was just about to say what you're about to say. He kicks off a nuclear war, but
He
all the
does kick it
heroes,
off.
yeah, all the heroes are able to stop the missiles before they detonate, with only one exception.
Yeah, one does go off, and luckily, as we said before, Johnny Storm has the ability to absorb that energy and fire and flame and all that. Unfortunately, it's at the cost of his life.
Yeah,
And I will say, like, it was kind of heartbreaking. I mean, obviously, it's sad when he dies, but the way they depict it, it's not like he just dies in the blast. He absorbs the blast, crashes to the ground, and they're like, Johnny, Johnny. He's like, I can't see. And then he
yeah,
dies. And I was just like, that little moment was like, where he's just like, I can't see. I was like, yeah, because he absorbed a nuclear blast and it blinds you. I just thought it was a really heroic moment for him. And it's funny for a guy who literally just gave a speech about who cares, let's just have fun and party. He still gave his life to save everyone.
yeah.
You know.
And
Um.
and in that whole nuclear stuff too, they had some cameos from other superheroes, and they're all in their
Mm,
80s like suits,
yeah.
where Iron Man is in the red and white
The red and
Centurion,
white suit from the '80s suit, yeah.
and Spidey's in his black and white suit, and Thor is
Thor
very
Well,
much.
Thor was actually wearing he was wearing his, like, his late '90s, early 2000s suit, which I thought was a little
Hmm,
but, you know, who knows how this universe would have shaken out, you know what I mean?
well,
Like,
that's
but,
very
yeah,
true.
that was from the, Heroes or Avengers Disassembled book, but,
Mm,
I did clock them, like, "Oh, that's interesting, that's, you know, that's not anachronistic," but I thought it was, like it was interesting, you know, but
yeah,
an Easter egg nonetheless.
that's what this book is full of, Easter eggs.
Yeah. Which again, I think they're done the right way. Like if you know, you know. If you
Yeah,
don't, it doesn't detract from the story.
they're
Of
not
course, the issue ends with the world saying, "Hey, that whole nuclear thing was not cool. Let's disarm." And you know, so in a good way, you know, Johnny's death didn't go in vain, and it ends
right.
with with the FF, including Reed and Sue, who have not talked to each other at this point for a long time. At the or
The
they're
funeral,
talking
yeah.
at this point, but they hadn't talked for a while. They're at his gravesite, which leads us into issue 4, the '90s.
I love the 90s. Yeah, and this one is through the perspective of Mr. Ben Grimm, the Thing, and kind of starts with him going out on a date. Um
Yes,
or no, I'm sorry, not
he's
going on a date, but he's going to Johnny's grave and
yeah.
kind of paying his respects, and just kind of seeing how he's walking through and just how everybody kind of sees him, which was pretty nice. But
Yeah, I like that, like, it's the '90s is great, you know, like, hey, you know, with the exception of Galactus, everything seems right in the world. We got cheap
yeah.
energy via Tony Stark. We're getting AIDS vaccines from Black Panther. Ben's happy. Franklin's getting married. Except for Galactus, like, literally speeding up to get there.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of going hunky dory. I mean, Ben's learned about online dating at this point, you know, so he gets to meet his little Alicia Masters, the blind sculptor, whose dad is the puppet master, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. And it's funny is that I love how Franklin's getting married to somebody from Wakanda. It
Yeah,
was Black Panther's
daughter, I
daughter.
believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is very cool. And but the one thing though, when they aged up, Franklin, it was
Mhm.
sometimes the way he looked was very similar to how they were drawing Johnny
Well, I
before.
think that
So
was on purpose. I think that was on purpose because
ki
Sue, for the
threw
most
me
part,
off a
stays,
little
like,
bit.
looking the same, you know. What's up?
No, it just threw me off a
What's up?
little bit, like, it
Oh,
threw me off, so it was just like, I
I
was like, "Wait, why is Johnny here?"
I think that was intentional. I think that was because he's like, yeah, he's the de facto now, you know, Johnny replacement. Because all of the not all, but most of the FF have died at one point or another and have always been replaced. You know, like even
Mhm.
when they're either replaced or they leave and then you replace them with She Hulk or whatever. So it felt natural to me, but I do agree. Like I was like, yeah, wait, why is Johnny here? I'm like, oh, it's because he would be, he's the new Johnny essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it just how it was drawn, though, was just very
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they could have had something a little bit more different. It just seemed like a almost not a copy and paste, but, it's
Well, to be fair, Johnny is his uncle, you know? He
no, no,
would look a little
it's
bit
tr
like
no, that's true, but, just some difference for the reader.
I gotcha, I gotcha. Could give him that, like, that '90s, like, buzz cut or something like that, or, like,
Yeah.
the bad bangs or
Oh,
something like
man, that'd be amazing, like, the bowl cut, a bowl cut.
that. At the funeral, at the wedding, at Franklin's wedding, of course, Reed senses Galactus, and the team is like, "Whoa, we gotta stop this." Turns out it's not Galactus, it's someone else.
It's the Silver Surfer, and the man Silver Surfer, not that lady Silver Surfer from the
Yeah, what's the
Fantastic Four movie. The
not in
dumbest take
not
in the world.
not in my comics.
Yeah, not my Silver Surfer, not my
Yeah,
fan. That
whatever.
the dumbest nerd take I think from the people hating on the movie. There's
Oh, are
other
you serious? That was the thing?
that was the thing. Yeah,
Oh god, get over it.
exactly. It was so dumb, but Silver Surfer shows up and he just kind of he wrecks their only chance to stop Galactus. So yeah, Reed thinks like he has the thing to stop Galactus, and the
Yeah.
Silver Surfer just destroys it in one day, one time, like one
Like
day,
1 second, like a
one
minute.
second, really. Which that's where I think that was influenced a lot, or excuse me, the movie kind of got that kind of sense from this
Yeah.
book because in the movie they have the and spoilers if you haven't seen it, excuse me, but the whole they do all this work to get the teleporter throughout the world and having everybody work with each other, and then Silver Surfer just comes and just destroys it,
Stops it.
not like no problem.
Not even batting an eye. Not even batting an eye.
Yeah,
I do love
which
that, go ahead.
no, and what I like about that is just the whole um just uh you could feel Reed's stomach hit the ground, like
Yeah,
the instant despair of like, we did all
yeah,
this work, I thought I had the answer, and now it's just done
yeah.
by this entity they had no idea about.
I do like that Ben takes a shot at the Silver Surfer, and Silver Surfer's like, "Okay, not bad, but not enough." And he's just like,
Right.
"Oh, damn." Because like, Silver Surfer straight up says, he's like, "I am 1,000th of the Galactus power. I took out your defenses in a second.
Yeah.
What chance do you think you have? Go make peace, because 'cause you're dead in 10 years." You know what I mean?
Yeah, he gives them even more of a ticking clock, and um it's just a crazy introduction to Silver Surfer, which is, again, different from the original
Yeah.
introduction. He's a lot more of a jerk in this one.
Yeah.
He's more arrogant
Yes.
and um more of a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he has been leading a giant purple people or a purple planet eating monster
Yep.
to kill, exterminate billions of lives. And just because he wanted to keep his planet alive, which they do get into in the next issue, because this issue ends with basically Ben proposing to Alicia Masters and then the clock ticking over to the year 2000, which leads us into issue 5, the 2000s,
Yeah.
which,
Wait, before we get into
oh,
2000s,
sure.
there's just a couple things I
Oh,
like.
sure. Please.
I
Sure.
just want to point out on this one.
Oh, sure.
I do love the Fantastic Four their uniforms, because it
Yep.
was the 90s look of the uniforms, which I like that change. I like the panel too when Reed is waking up and he's all old and stuff, and then he
Oh,
kind of does his like clay face and just turns him back to the Reed that we know. So it's
yeah. Yeah.
that was pretty
Nice little
cool,
touch.
funny. Yeah, a little touch. And then I liked when Silver Surfer's talking, and he shows kind of his power. You have the Kirby dots, um,
Yeah.
which I always like to see those, because it's
Yeah.
a good little Jack Kirby Easter egg. Every time you
Homage.
see that, yeah, that's right, it's an homage. And also, I mean, this is a even though this was from Ben's perspective, he had a lot of character growth as well. Like before they left on the space flight, he was almost married, and
Yep.
this is where he kind of comes to terms with his ex, and
Yes.
kind of closes
Susan, I
up.
believe, right? Or not Susan, it was, what was her name? Sally?
Sally something.
Yeah, I think it was Sally.
um
Well, I forgot, yeah, you're right, and this is also the issue where
yeah, Sally.
Ben comes clean about his past in Korea, because he was
Yeah,
a pilot in Korea, and how he's like, "Yeah, I killed a bunch of people that I didn't, and I orphaned children,
yeah,
and at least
without
there's
his
this ar."
explicit
Yeah.
knowledge, but yeah,
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 but still, he still lives with that guilt, and he's like, "I don't deserve love, I don't deserve redemption," and Alicia's like, "No, because you do feel guilt, that's why you deserve to, like, you deserve to, you're not a monster," I thought it was
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it shows more of
Uh,
his character, which is great.
yeah.
And
Yeah, it's definitely the most focused issue on Ben, because, like, other than that, yeah, yeah, I wish there had been a little bit more of a focus on Ben throughout the series, but this is
mhm.
very much Reed's story, I would say, so,
Yeah.
but, yeah. Anyway, I digress. Um,
On to issue
d
number 5 now.
mhm. You wanna tackle it?
Yeah, yeah, so the year 2000.
2000.
The year 2000.
Yeah.
And this is actually from Franklin's perspective.
Mhm.
And at this time, the world has really given up and is going through kind of just the motions, kind of like the leftovers, that show on HBO.
Oh,
Just
dude, have you watched that show?
I've seen bits and pieces that I know about it. I just haven't watched it.
It definitely there's a very morose vibe in the first season that this first couple panels kinda capture.
Mm.
By the way, if you ever The Leftovers is a show, I hate when people say this, that gets better as it goes on. The first
Mm.
season's really dark and bleak and, like, what's the point of this? Second season is very good, and the third season is even better because like they're kind of like soft reboots each season. But the first season is it's hard to get through, like because it's so just depressing for lack of a better word. Whereas like the
Mm.
second season, yes, it's still dark and depressing, but it's like it's got great character, and the third season is even better. So, but anyway, we're talking about comics, not about the leftovers.
Yeah, no, that's another show. That's Brian's Leftovers. Get it? Uh,
Hey. Well,
yeah,
it is interesting to point out that 9/11 does not happen because the book picks up
yeah,
in 2002 and the 2 towers are still there. And this is where you start to see, like, the impact of superheroes throughout, how they impacted things.
yeah, yeah. Which it's even just a departure from the 616 universe because 9/11 did
Yep.
happen in the
Happening in
616.
616, yeah.
Um, and just through the years though too, with this, Reed hasn't given up. And Silver Surfer kind of shows up and kind of tells the story of how he offered himself up to Galactus to save the world, and he wants
Mm.
to offer the same opportunity to Reed, but Reed is like, "Nah, bruh, I'm okay. I'm
I'm
good down
cool.
here."
I'll
So,
find another path without, sacrificing other planets to stop him, you know?
right, and another that's another in a way a little bit of influence on the movie too, with the whole
Mhm,
Franklin and Galactus swap,
mhm.
and uh. T'Challa gives Franklin a device that helps him control his powers, as they've been kind of like suppressed by his parents after Johnny had died because he was so powerful. And
Mhm.
um, Doom actually makes an offer to the Silver Surfer to save the Earth. Basically, because how they depict the power cosmic is through was it like consciousness or something like that. It's
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what Galactus kind of feeds on. That's what he kind of feeds on with when he destroys a planet. And
All that
Doom is just
fear
like,
and
yeah, he's like, why travel when I can just give you a farm of
yeah,
sacrificing basically
grazing.
people, yeah, grazing in people basically, and um
It was
it,
it's a ritual sacrifice, essentially. We're gonna
right,
sacrifice these to our god in the sky, you know?
yeah, 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 and that like I said before, that was kind of not repurposed, but kind of it kind of comes back with the current Doom,
Yeah,
One World Under Doom, where
absolutely it
that's how he's
does.
getting his power. So
Yep, he has to
so
pay that
this
price somehow.
yeah, so this miniseries has influenced a lot with the when you
Yeah.
kind of go through it and you kind of realize like, oh hey, that yeah, that's seeing that now. So
I like in that moment though that Silver Surfer is like, "Well, your take is definitely a refreshing take from one I've heard over the years." You know
yeah,
what I mean? He's just like, but I like he's like, "Well, you'll find I'm not Reed Richards." He's like, "No, you are certainly not." Like there's almost like a
right,
disdain at the end with the Silver Surfer, and he's like, with that whole thing, it's like, "No, you are certainly not him. Like that is a man."
right.
Like the implication of that's a man of honor. You are not, sir. You know what I mean? I do like, and this is that Mark Russell thing where there's a commercial on the screen after this where Sue's watching it. Where like, Galactus is coming and you're going to die, but we've got these cryopods that we're going to launch you into space and keep
I,
you alive until another sea or spacefaring organization finds you and brings you to their planet. And now with extra space for your dog, she's
oh
like,
yeah, yeah, and then Arf, yeah, nose are pets. Arf.
yeah, I love Reed's like, or it's like Sue. She's like, I'm stupider by watching that or
Yeah, you
something.
said I was a better person before I saw this
I
ad.
saw that. That's what it was. I was like, that's just Mark Russell doing Mark Russell right there. I love
Yeah,
it.
and there's also one thing too we didn't mention, but the Reed throughout this whole time has been trying to use AI to
Mhm.
find the solution for Galactus as well. So
Yeah.
he kind of makes his own version of an
An
imagining
android. Yeah,
Yeah,
he takes
Android.
the android that the Mad Thinker did and kinda repurposes it for himself.
Yeah, yeah. So and then with that, I mean, he kind of continues his quest to find a way to stop Galactus, and Sue asks him to stop looking for ways to live and to just live.
Live,
And
yeah.
like it's kind of the whole thing with Galactus, where Galactus is seen as more of a natural disaster rather
Yeah.
than a villain, and
Yeah.
you don't you don't stop Galactus, you endure or you survive it. And that's what
Mhm.
Sue is just saying. Like, just look, we know this is going to happen. We have no idea how to stop it. So let's just
Mm.
enjoy these last few moments that we have.
Yeah, I think that and they get back together the last 2
Yeah.
years before he's there, and, like, he Reed begins to live for the first time in essentially 30 or 40 years, like, he's happy, he's alive, he
Yeah.
realizes how much as he misses his son and his wife, and he's alive, and this plays a part when Galactus really does finally show up. And Silver Surfer's like, "Hey, man, I'll give you one more opportunity. You sure you don't want to swap with me? I'll let you become essentially the Herald of Galactus, and you can save your planet." And Reed is like, "Huh?" And he's like, "I've lived these last 2 years. I can't let it. You know what? Fuck it. I'll do it."
Mm.
Basically,
And with that though, too, I mean, um Galactus kind of is like, all right, bye Silver Surfer, I want this new hotness, so here,
oh
I'm
yeah.
going to change you back, but in the middle of space. So thanks, but no thanks. Here's your gold watch, and why don't you just die?
It's like who does he say? The only reward for not serving me is death, or something like that.
Yeah,
It's like, "Jeez
yeah,
Louise."
yeah, there is no reward for service but its end.
Yes.
And then he's like, Zen-La, and then he dies.
Which I'm
um
glad he called out to his planet. It would've been weird if he was like, "Oh, Shaw LaBelle," the girl
yeah.
in the comic, it was like, he loved her or whatever, but yeah. So it's like, okay, harsh Galactus.
Yeah, it's
So,
like, oh damn,
it's
all
like,
right, dude,
the
like, be
benefits
cool,
are great,
man.
but it was they say, like, the benefits are great, but the retirement is shot, you know?
Yeah, like, he had his 401k ready to go, and he was ready to go home and be on the Zenla beach with,
Mm,
his timeshare, but
yeah.
that all went, nope,
Nope.
all done. But when Reed comes, guess what? There's a double
What?
cross.
What?
Yeah, exactly. With the help of Franklin, they trick him and basically fry Galactus's brain.
Yeah,
Eh,
they instead of Reed going up to become the Herald,
yeah,
Franklin goes up, and they just set up like a psychic like wire essentially, and
because Reed has been trying to communicate with Galactus or doing something with him
yeah,
in this psychic chamber, and basically he uses that with Franklin, and he fries Galactus's brain but also his own brain.
yeah, he leaves him in a catatonic state. I do love
Yeah.
that, Ben still also punches, Galactus
Right.
right in the kissa.
Right. uh I like the space punching is the best punching.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, you're right. Like they do fry and kill essentially Galactus, but in the process,
Yeah.
Reed is left in a vegetative state, which leads us right into issue 10, the 2010s, or issue
Yeah,
6, excuse me.
and but the one, so I
Mhm,
think what kind of not cheapens but kind of throws you through a little bit of a loop when you're reading this, it's like this pivotal moment in
mhm.
this big moment. The whole thing has been leading up to this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And as this is happening, they change art. Like, something happens and the artists change and the art changes. And I think it changes enough where I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on? I don't know the backstory behind that, but it's only like the last, you know, 6 pages,
Pages.
but those are like important pages within
I
the
agree.
whole story. And
I I,
I don't know why they changed the artists on that.
well, and this is where my kinda criticism came through. I kinda had to reread those panels a couple times to kind of like, "Wait, what
Mhm.
happened?" Like, because it's not essentially clear, like, okay, so it's like, essentially Franklin sets up a psychic link between him and Reed, and Reed is able to just like fry his brain. It was like it's not really
Right.
clear. I'm like I'm guessing like using Franklin's power is able to fry his brain, and somehow Reed's the one who dies though, or goes catatonic, not Franklin. It just
Yeah.
it's a little jumbled there, and if I have a criticism of the book, this is where it lands. I mean, this is supposed to be the big pivotal moment, and I think it needed to be a little bit, I hate to say it, but a little clearer, like what happened. Maybe
Yeah.
and also I'm a dummy, and so I might have just missed it, and
No,
people are like, "No, you're a fool."
I'm also the
So
common denominator, so I don't know. It shouldn't go over our heads, especially at this moment. And then
Mhm.
the art just looks different enough, and I I don't think as good.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
the faces, it's one of the small face syndrome,
Mhm.
where the faces are very smaller than the actual head.
Mhm.
On
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
like there's like a panel where you're like, oh,
Well, especially when you have, like, things where a double cross is happening and like you just said, the fact that Johnny and Franklin are so similar alike, and then when you have these colors are very muted in this scene, it's
yeah,
basically a lot of purples and whites and a little bit of reds, if I recall. And so it's kind of hard. The only reason I was like, "Oh, that's Franklin," because he's wearing the headband that T'Challa gave him. So it's like that's I'm like, "Oh, that's who that," you know what I mean? Like, so it's a little unclear, unfortunately, and the art didn't land as well, I think.
yeah,
I was again, you're able to figure, okay, yeah, he won through, space psychic, psychic manipulation. That's how they won. But it's like
yeah.
I wish it had been just like, again, if I'm offering a criticism of the book, it's right here. It's like I wish it had been a little cleaner, but for all intents and purposes, we know what happened. You know?
Yeah, it's disappointing. That happened at that moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's sort of like, I hate to say this, and again, no disrespect to Ron Lim, I think he's a great artist, but it's like in Infinity Gauntlet when, George Perez did like the first 3 issues, and then when they get to the big battle where like Thanos is gonna wreck stuff, suddenly they go to Ron Lim. It's like, wait a minute, what the hell just happened? Like,
Yeah.
and again, Ron Lim's not a bad artist, and if Ron Lim had done the book from the beginning to the end, I'd been fine with it. It's just to go from George Perez, like you're just like, wait, well,
Yes,
that is a
that's George Perez to anybody
yeah.
is a big
And,
leap.
yeah, and again, I really do like Ron Lim. I love his Silver Surfer. I love his Warlock stuff. I love all of his cosmic stuff. It's just again, going from one to the other. It's a little it's a little you know uh
Jarring.
trying. Yeah.
It takes
Well,
you out of the book.
yep, a little bit. Well, let's move on to issue 6. Speaking of getting through the
Yeah,
book.
the last issue.
Hmm.
And one thing too, I want to mention on this, even though this is like a 6 issue like miniseries, each of
Hmm.
these issues are like double issues.
Yeah,
They're beefy boys.
they're packed.
Like, yeah,
They're packed.
it's usually like issues are around like, what would you say, like maybe
Well, 22 pages,
22
21 to
pages and
22,
stuff.
21
Yeah,
pages to 22. Used to
these
be
are like
24.
around 33.
Is it? Okay, okay. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
know the
I
whole
mean,
book,
depending on the
yeah.
one.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say they're about 30, 32 pages, like, 32 pages sounds about
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
which with a lot of info and a lot of stuff happening too. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a longer read than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Um,
It needs it,
it's
though.
yeah, no, for sure, because they pack a lot of stuff. They pack 10 years into an issue.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's just it's just s- and it doesn't feel like it's stretched out though either.
No, no, it
That's what
doesn't.
like it doesn't feel slow or it's
Mhm.
going too much, which I think is good.
Well, let's get into the 2010s, which is from the perspective of Reed, who's apparently in a catatonic state. What's going on here? We know that Franklin's trying to reach out to him psychically, trying to pull his dad back, but cannot find him. Even though Reed is narrating the whole thing, like, yeah, I just don't want to come out of my shell. I'm tired. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, just leave me alone. But we find the world falling back into its old patterns. And now Doom has used that relative peace that came after Galactus to have built an entire army full of Doom bots made of vibranium, no less, or some of them are made of vibranium, no
yeah.
less, and he's basically just like he's pulling a Hitler and just like taking over all the countries around him and slowly taking over the world. And the heroes are like, yeah, that's not gonna work for us anymore. Like you gotta stop.
Yeah, it's like, hey, dude, like chill out. And he's doing that
Yeah.
with robots that he made with the Mad Thinker, who he kind of
Yes.
double crossed in a way as well, and
Yes.
kind of like
Yeah.
out thought him, out
Yes,
thinked
he
him,
outthought the thinker. Well, after
out
the
thought the thinker.
thinker's nuclear war gambit fell, he was like, all right, here's what I'm now in charge. Yeah, and so he's like taking over with Mad Thinker robots. And at this point, all the heroes like, and this is like modern versions like Captain Marvel, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Ironheart, so it's like characters from
Yeah.
like 2010s, like they're fighting
Doombots.
Doombots, and they're not doing well. And so Sue goes to Cap, who's about 80 right now. She's like, "Yo, Cap, we got to help these young bucks out. Like this is not working." And Cap is
Yeah.
like, "This is a young person's game, dude. I'm 80. Like I'm not doing that."
Like, I've earned my retirement.
Yeah, which she's just like, "All right, whatever, dude. Like let the fascists win."
Right.
Like very very and so her and Ben go to take off and like try to help out. And of course, they're able to win with the help of Sue and Ben. And so Doom is like super pissed at this point. He's like, no, Mad Thinker, you're fired. And by fired, I mean, I'm blowing up your head. Wait a minute, you're an android. The guy I
Right.
thought was the Mad Thinker is an android. Who would have thought that?
What? I got
I got,
bamboozled again?
I got bamboozled again. Who could have seen that coming?
All right.
But he leads his army of Doombots with the vibranium skins that he got from Ulysses Claw to like go fight the heroes. But luckily, Cap is gonna cap because cannot have fascism and a Cap in the same book.
Mm-mm.
And Cap takes on Doctor Doom. This of course. Go ahead. You
No, no,
bro.
I love there's like a panel where he like punches Doctor Doom kind of like he did Hitler in this first cover
Oh,
as
the Cap
well.
Cap one? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That's a good catch. I'll have to go back
Yeah.
and check that again. That's great. That's great.
And then
Um,
but then from that like Doom's like, "Hey, you know what? I ain't going out like no bitch and I'm going to
no,
have
I ain't.
it's like he clicks something like he clicks like a garage door opener, but it's like a annihilation mode. So basically all these the Doombots go all kamikaze
Yeah.
basically
Yeah,
and
he suicide runs those suckers. He's all,
yeah.
I'm gonna speed run my take over the world
Right.
right now.
And then
uh,
with that too, you see where the Mad Thinker was, and he was using one of the Doombots as like to hide as like an
yeah.
armor. So he gets out, and there's this one last ditch effort to reach out to Reed through Franklin
Mhm.
to stop Doom.
Yeah, he basically has the original Android, which has the shutdown key to all of
Mhm.
this, but they don't know where it's at. And they're like, Reed, you got to help us. And Reed comes out of his shell enough to get the head and says activate. And they're able to
Yeah,
basically, it's the old thing of like, oh, stop the queen, not the, but in this case, it's like send out the code, and they all fall apart. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. The hive mind,
The hive mind
and
thing.
then so the world is saved and everything, but they have this android head of Reed,
Reed.
and it's his eulogy basically that he gave
Yeah.
before he fried out
Yeah.
basically. And it was a good moment, I thought.
It's a good moment.
Him saying he was sorry for how he um
Treated Sue and
treated Sue, treated Franklin, sorry
yeah,
for Ben.
the thing when he said to Franklin is like, I never had the courage to tell you I loved you enough. I should have told you a million times. Like, I was just like, yeah, you
Yeah,
should have, dude. You were a dad and you fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm like, I'm glad
right.
you could admit it now, but yeah, you should have. And it's worth noting that, Reed came from a different era. He came from the 60s. You know what I mean? And I not to talk too much about it, but I know for a lot of fathers of that era, it was hard to admit love of their children. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it is a little, historically accurate. I tell you right now, man, I tell my kid every damn day how much I
Yeah,
love my
yeah.
son. You know what I mean? But I
And
digress.
I love what he says to Franklin like in his like my greatest joy in life was watching you grow into the man you became. My greatest regret is that I watched it from afar. And
Yeah.
all from his choice too. So
Yeah.
it
Well,
was kind of a great moment.
in his mind, he thought he was saving him by like trying to find that
Yeah.
the cure for Galactus. And he kind of it's a thing where he got wrapped up so much in the problem he didn't it's like that it's that thing of getting, losing the forest for the trees kind of thing where you know he just didn't realize that he wasn't living. He was so interested in saving life he didn't live himself.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
glad that he had a chance to kind of redeem
for
that.
sure. And then and just like the most apropos final line for the android head is like, "I wish I had more time,"
Yeah.
and, then boom, powers down.
Yeah. This is a little mixed up, but what was your overall final thoughts on the book? What do you give this book? What do you think of the book?
I
What is your
I
overall take
really
on it?
liked it. I really liked the vehicle that they used to show Fantastic Four throughout the years. I liked how it was different in a sense of there's not the sliding Marvel scale. I like,
Mhm.
they grew everybody. They got older, and just how each team member kind of adapted to the decades, really, and
Yeah.
it's just through in the kind of a glimpse in the Marvel universe through the decades, through
Yeah.
the first family of Marvel. So I
Yeah.
really liked it. I thought it was really fun. The art was
Mhm.
on par, except for that one part on
Mhm.
issue 5, and I thought this is a great depiction of Galactus as well, because he was
Yeah.
legit a scary entity in this book.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Reminiscent of the Annihilus stuff from Ultimate Fantastic Four in that
Hmm.
weird, like, otherworldly way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really did like the book. I felt it was better on the reread. Like, it's funny, when I read it in singles, I liked it a lot. When I read it all collected in one trade, I didn't like it as much, and then when I had to
Uh-huh.
reread it to write my notes up, I liked it better the second, very similar to the All-Star Superman thing where I had that thing where when I read All-Star Superman, where it's like, read it in singles, loved it. Read it as one
Right.
collected trade, like, in a row, and I was like, "Eh, it didn't hit me as hard," and then when I went back and reread it and found the nuances within it, I liked it a lot more. So yeah, I'm a big Mark Russell guy. So like I don't think I don't want to say it's not his strongest works. I don't think it's that, but it's probably not my
Uh-huh.
favorite work by him. But by no means am I like, oh, poo-pooing this book at all. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think there's
yeah.
some art inconsistencies, but you know, it's funny because like online, it's again, man. I gotta start going online. It's so
Hey.
divided about this book. People are like, oh, f this book. He doesn't get it. Da 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 da. Life story by Spider-Man. Life story did it better, and da da da. It's just like, oh god. And like the other half, like this is really good. So it's like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
it's very
man.
divisive.
It is, and it's like it's just like I gotta stay off the internet because it's just getting gnarly out there. Um, Speaking of Spider-Man life story, let's talk about the continuity of this book. Did you read Spider-Man life story?
I did, and that was also a great one we should probably cover as well,
We'll
and
probably cover that
our
one. It's
life
the same thing.
story.
Yeah, yeah. So in technically they are not in the same continuity. This is a standalone story, so you don't have to
Yeah.
read anything. Like it doesn't tie into any other characters. There is Spider-Man life story, but it is a separate universe. But it does the same kind of thing where each era of Spider-Man through the years. So we see Gwen Stacy's death, we see the black suit, we see the Clone Saga, all that. That one was more focused on the events of Spider-Man. This book was more focused on
The
um
decades.
the decades of history and like how they impacted, and it's more focused on the Galactus of it all. Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
denim wall with Doom at the end, but I'd say this is more focused on one singular event with things that kind of crop up throughout. Whereas the Spider-Man version of the story is very much like, oh nope, this is the 60s, so it's high school, and then here's college, and then here's Harry, and then here's the Gwen Stacy stuff, and then you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
there's the black suit in Clone Saga, and like I said. Um, like
I
I
I
said,
think
I
but I
go
think what's good and why they did that with Spider-Man specifically, I think because he's had more of those type of
yeah.
moments
Absolutely.
in his history.
Yes. I
So
agree. I think that that absolutely lended itself to him. When I think this is a better have this is much more of a focused story with
yeah.
Galactus, and I think it works better. And it's mostly, like I said, it's mostly driven by Reed, I would say. Without Reed, like you don't almost Johnny's story is interesting and his sacrifice is great and it's sad, but like, it's like he's gone halfway through the book. Ben gets that one good issue, but he
Mhm.
almost didn't need
It
it.
is a Reed
I
story.
was It's a Reed story with a Sue adjacent, you know what I mean?
It's almost like the X-Men movies where those you could argue that those were more of like a Wolverine movie
Wolverine.
with
Yeah,
X-Men
exactly.
adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. I'd agree with that. Again, not bad at all. Just
No, no.
realize what you're going. If you're looking, well, and that's actually where I was going to lead to is like similar reading. So if you're actually looking for an FF book or whatever, let's get into some similar reading. I did kind of write up a list of non-sliding scale comics, like the non
Mhm.
uh time slide, stories that are similar to this. So you do have Spider-Man life story, like we mentioned. There's another book by John Byrne that Superman called Superman Batman Generations, in which Superman and Batman age through the years, and that's
Mhm.
interesting. Also, as I mentioned earlier, Mark Russell's Superman Space Age and Batman Dark Age are also similar in that where you see them progress as and get older as the books go on. So,
Hmm.
if you're looking for like those like actual growth of characters that are influenced by current events or past events or whatever, like those are books to look at.
Well, speaking of that too, what character would you like to see kind of get a life story treatment? Like, what
It'd
would
be
be
interesting.
a good next one?
It's funny. I was about to say Wolverine just kind of out of instinct because he's
Mhm.
had such a long life, but he kind of get that anyway because he doesn't age really. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's been around since the 1800s, so he has lived through World War II. He has lived through Vietnam. He's lived through Korea. He's lived through the Cold War. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know if
Mhm.
Wolverine would probably be the best for that. It was like my first like thought, but honestly, it, I did think about this earlier. The Avengers, but it would be the
Mhm.
Avengers. It's like because the Avengers have had such a roster change over the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
years.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, you could do, like, the '60s Avengers and, like, the birth of and them fighting Cap and then having the villain Avengers where it was, Hawkeye and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and then you
Yeah.
could do the '70s, and then it's like Captain Marvel when, Photon Monica Rambeau, when she's leading the Avengers. I mean, that's just the Avengers comics at this point, but that would be a fun,
Yeah.
like, take on it.
I I would like to
What
see
about
I
you?
think it'd have been cool to see, like, a Nick Fury one,
Mm,
and him adapting to the ever-changing superheroes throughout
that's true. That'd
the
be cool.
decades too, like, how he's trying to keep Shield or just kinda keep them corralled as
Yeah.
much as he can, or even, like, Cap if he wasn't frozen.
Well, it's
Uh,
funny, kind of going back to Cap, it's interesting because again, we live on that the Marvel universe is that 15 years have passed.
yeah.
So like, since the FF went into space, technically Cap comes out of the ice now after 9/11. You know what I mean? Like 9/11 is,
Oh, yeah, yeah, huh.
even Spider-Man is post 9/11, even though that there's the famous issue, was it 30 or whatever, where Spider-Man's at the two towers helping everybody. Like
Yeah,
technically those events happen after or 9/11 happened before technically
right.
Fantastic Four number 1. It's interesting, like, and that's where it's like you can't think too hard
Too hard
about,
on it.
like,
It'll fry your
it
brain like
yeah, it's not
Galactus.
gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's like The Simpsons. It's like, oh, yeah, The Simpsons started in the '80s or the late '80s, early '90s, but, they do flashback episodes to the '90s, like, when Marge and Homer got married, it's like, "Wait a minute here," you know? So I digress. Um,
Yeah.
you being an FF guy, what would you recommend for fans who are interested in the Fantastic Four and need to know where to start? Would you recommend they start with like the Stanley Jack Kirby stuff? Where would you direct a fan?
Yeah, no, I think the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby stuff is fun stuff to start with. Like you get
Okay.
those huge editions like the omnibuses or something. You
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
those pretty cheap of
Epic
the
collections or whatever.
Epic
Yeah.
collections um and just go through those just for like the history of it, but also the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby of it all.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the best
It's a little dated, just be honest.
no, no, very much so. But like some of the best like Fantastic Four stuff is really comes from like Mark Wade or
Mark
John
Waid.
Byrne.
Yeah.
Um, Walt Simonson is some
Yeah,
good
he's
stuff. Hickman's recent stuff was very good. The Future Foundation stuff,
yeah.
like Spider Man becomes part of the team for a little bit,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
even the current Fantastic Four has been really fun
Oh,
as
Ryan
well. I
North,
think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very Star Trek. It's very Star
yeah.
Trek.
But
Yeah.
there's and like the use of uh like the whole time travel thing with King or
Mm,
something. There was an issue of like Fantastic Four recently with time travel with King, and then you basically have Reed and Sue not talking, but they see themselves in time, and they kind of give themselves a heads up by using invisible braille. that they used to
Okay.
talk to each other from like
Mhm.
because they learned it from Alicia and in using Sue's power. So it's like, stuff like fun stuff like that
Yeah,
was
fun science stuff, yeah.
yeah, and then the Marvel Toon one too. Like read
Mm.
that as well. That's really fun.
Yeah, I would, personally, I'd say go after the Mark Waid stuff because it's literally meant to be as a jumping on
Wow.
point.
Big surprise. Brian
I know.
is going for the Mark Waid stuff. What
But, most
next?
people, yeah,
Sky
I'm gonna
is
say
blue.
most people will admit though that the Mark Waid stuff is right up there
It
with
is
like,
very good.
with it's really good. The John Byrne, despite the John Byrne of it all, the John Byrne stuff is a lot of fun, and it's probably considered to be parallel to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's run. I think the Stan
Mhm.
Lee and the Jack Kirby run, while definitely historically significant and very important, and there's some brilliant stuff that happens there, it is very much dated and a product of its time, and you have to kinda know that going into it. It's one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of, like, Silver Age stuff, like, because it is so
Yeah.
dated. I prefer, like, the modern age stuff, but if you know that going in and you're into it, great. Pick up, like, the first trade, and if you're like, "You know, I like this," there's 100 and, like, what, 102 issues of it. The second longest run in Marvel Comics history of a writer and artist. It was only
Mhm.
beaten by, Bendis and, Bagley when they did Ultimate
Bagley.
Spider-Man. Yeah. But I would say the John Byrne stuff, the Mark Waid stuff, the Walt Simon stuff. So I personally am also a big fan of Tom DeFalco's run in the '90s. Like I said, that was the stuff where Reed got killed and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sue took over and all that. But you also wrote into the notes Ultimate FF.
Yeah, no, I think Ultimate FF is a good book to read. The early Ultimate FF, because also it kind of ties into what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday, sorry, last issue. Last issue. Goodness gracious, Josh, come on. The last episode.
It's late.
Yeah, yeah. It when with the Ultimate Universe and the Maker, that's where the Maker comes from. But
Mm,
also those,
mm.
first few runs are very
Really
fun.
fun.
Stuff
It's
like uh,
yeah,
the
good
Doom,
art, good
Annihilus,
storyline. Yeah,
Namor, um, that's the introduction of the zombie
Marvel
Marvel
Zombies. Yep.
zombie universe. Excuse me. The art's really good. It's a fun twist, and a lot of that was influenced the other Fantastic Four movie that nobody
Yeah,
really
yeah.
wants to talk about, but and somewhat,
Uh,
somewhat this new movie too, because the involved teleporters. So
that's
it's
true.
there's some,
That's true.
there's little bits and pieces here, but
Yeah,
it's
so
fun.
it's funny when you have like 70 or 60 years of continuity to pull from. It's easy, I mean, like it's
Yeah,
easy
it
what you can
seems
do.
like you can throw a dart and you'll be like still fine.
You also wrote in the FF cartoon. I'm assuming the
Oh
one
yeah,
coming from the '90s.
so dude, this cartoon is just a nostalgic just trip. It's on
Mhm,
Disney Plus, and
mhm.
you just look up even the theme because you get the whole history of the Fantastic Four and just the theme song, and it's amazing.
Nice.
It's during the whole '90s,
Oh,
Marvel cartoons where
the
they had
X-Men,
Incredible Hulk.
Spider-Man, and all that, and the Silver
Yeah,
Surfer
the
and all that.
X-Men's, yeah, everybody remembers X-Men Spider-Man, but a lot of people forget, the Fantastic Four one, there was a Hulk one, there was
Mhm.
a Iron Man one, which Iron Man second season has one of the hardest theme intros, like, of all
Okay.
it's crazy. Like, he's making his armor, but it's from like a like mechanic anvil. It goes hard, and he has like a
Okay.
mullet. It's amazing.
All right, I'm checking that
Um
out. I'm checking that out.
yeah, it definitely I wanted to tell you too. Once you're done with the DC stuff,
Mm,
check out the Fantastic Four cartoon.
okay.
That's where the whole revolt of development and all that stuff kind of
Yeah,
and it's just a fun nostalgic cartoon.
okay. If, you're a fan of Mark Russell, I personally would recommend, like I said, his book, the condensed version of the Bible called God is Disappointed in You, and, there's a follow-up to it as well, but then, the other one I'd recommend is, like, the Flintstones comic he did, as well as
Yeah.
His Red Sonja book is phenomenal. I know he
Mm.
left it early because he had a falling out with, Dynamite because I don't know what it was, but
Dynamite.
his Red Sonja book is legit great as well. So,
I'll
if
have
you're
to
looking
check.
for
I
more of
haven't
that,
checked that out, so I need to check that one out.
it and his other book he did, Traveling to Mars is really good. I know he got I haven't read it yet. It's like Not the Robots, I think I think it's called Not he won the Eisner for it. He won an award for it, but it's like Not the Robots. It's like, but if you see his name on a book, man, it's gonna be if you're to the left, which I am, you're
Mhm.
gonna love his stuff.
He's just one of those fun dudes.
Mhm. Yeah, he seems like I've seen a couple interviews with him. He seems like a good guy. So with that, let's get into our weekly recommendations. Josh, what is your weekly recommendation this episode?
Yeah, so the recent kind of stuff I've read was I'm on this nostalgic trip, and
Yeah,
uh,
Herculoids and stuff.
Hercules and stuff, but also like what a book that I started reading because it's just kind of started with this VR Troopers. Now,
Yeah, I
Brian, do you
saw
know what the
that.
VR Troopers are?
I saw something. I'm gonna say it has to do with Power Rangers, but I don't
Very
know.
much so. Yeah, it was because it was one of those like, hey, Power Rangers are so popular. Let's take another Sentai type of show and make it do the same thing. And it was called VR Troopers, and
Mhm.
it was just a fun kind of crazy show. And they started a comic book and they've tied it into the kind of the lore of Power Rangers because Power
Oh,
Rangers right
nice.
now have kind of restarted everything with Power Rangers Primal,
Okay.
and it's a whole different new story, which is
Okay.
good. And VR Troopers kind of has branched out from it. It's a separate it's become a separate story, but it's good. It's
Nice.
a the art's really, again, it's just and it's just started, so it's just fun little walk down
Nice.
nostalgic lane. What
Nice.
about you, Brian? What's the hero trade?
Oh, so it's just it's a two-issue mini. It's called The Hero Trade Project Chimera. It's written by Matt Kint and art is by David Lapham, who did Stray Bullets. Matt Kint did things like My Management, stuff like that. It's this weird, like, government take essentially on the Wonder Twins,
Hmm.
and I don't want to spoil anything more than that, but it's like a very adult take on what if the government had superheroes and what they would do with them. And essentially, these are the Wonder Twins that they have in captivity. Um, at least that's the way I'm reading. Maybe it's someone else gonna reads it a different way. But the other book that I was really excited about, it's a Greg Rucka book, and I think it's Nicola Scott. It's Cheetah and Cheshire rob the Justice League, and it's basically Cheetah and Cheshire pulling an Ocean's 11 on the
Oh wow.
Justice League watchtower. So the first issue is all set up about how they're like, okay, we got to get a team together. I'm like, yep, this is gonna be Ocean's 11, and I'm all for it. Let's do it. So check that out, man.
That sounds fun. I've seen bits and pieces of it and I've heard about it, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
What's it sounds now you have to say Cheetah Cheshire like 5 times fast.
Cheetah Cheshire, Cheetah Cheshire,
All
Cheetah Cheshire, Cheetah Cheshire, Cheetah
right,
Cheshire.
nobody. Okay, whatever. Yeah,
Almost died there.
nobody. No, you don't need to show off. So I mean, I think that is
Lion
the
face,
end
lemon
of
face, lion
this.
face, lemon face. Yeah.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Now, so
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I guess we're wrapping it up. With that,
yeah,
we're wrapping it up. This long episode, but it's a good episode. I liked it.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, it's your boys, baby, or
it's my
it's your
boy, it's
boys.
my fam, it's my fam,
Your
my
fams, your
FF.
fam.
I
That's
used
it.
to
That's
I
it.
used to kind of say make Fantastic Four great again.
Oh,
And they did. So it's great.
they did?
Um yeah, well, yeah. But if you also like the episode, please make sure to subscribe and hit us up on Instagram and Blue Sky. We're at We Got Issues and We Got Issues Cast on those, and
The
it's
BComp.
the BComp on Blue Sky.
Mhm.
And if you like the episode, please rate us 5 stars. If you didn't like it, rate us 5 stars. If you're
Recommend
like
us to your friends.
meh, 5 stars. If you like Fantastic Four, 5 stars. Also, I mean, if this is the first episode that you're listening to, check out our other episodes. We just had our
Please.
first guest on our last one, and then we've done some other deep dives and everything. I think one of our bigger ones was the one of our first ones, Gotham Central, which was a good one.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, we're at what episode like 16. Who would have thought
This'll
we've
be
gotten this far?
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Me,
Well,
neither.
as for next week's or not next week, next episode, I have not decided what we're gonna do, or you have not decided. We have not decided.
We're in between books right now of what we want to do. We've done a few Marvel, so I think we might branch out to either DC or kind of a third party.
An
But
image or something like
keep
that.
an eye out on those socials that we just mentioned, and we will let you know so you can read along with us. So, and if you have any recommendations too that you want us to kind of tackle, or have any questions on something you want us to tackle, let us know.
Ben, Ross, Derek, I know you're listening. Please just text me.
Yeah, one of those three names. I mean, Grady, Steven, and Nicholas. See, I can just say random names too. Let's makes it feel like we have a lot of people listening.
There we go.
So no, thank you everybody, and we will see you on the next one.
Peace.